Hi, I'm Daniel with Plumpy Thimble. Today I'm going to talk to you about The Wretched, and originally I was going to talk about a whole bunch of RPGs, and it was going to be a vlog, and it probably still will be eventually, but right now I discovered an RPG and played it and enjoyed it so much that I wanted to share sort of my experience with you in a pretty unique way that I didn't expect that I'd get to. The RPG is called The Wretched, and it's written by Chris Bissette. It's a very rules light RPG that you play specifically for one player. How that works is the tools that you would need to play this is a D6, a deck of cards, and the game says it's not necessary, but it makes it a whole lot better, a Jenga tower. The premise is that you are the sole survivor of some sort of alien attack on a salvage spaceship called the Wretched, and you are creating daily logs about your survival experience. And how that story unfolds is up to you. It's not about the choices that you make, necessarily. It's about the narrative choices you make. But basically how it works is you roll a d6 at the beginning of every round, and you draw that many cards from a deck of cards. You then flip the cards one by one, and each one of those cards corresponds to something that happens to the spaceship or to you personally, or it's basically, the rulebook has a list of story prompts, and some of those prompts will have you pull Jenga blocks from a tower. If that tower ever falls, that's the integrity of your ship, and the ship fails, it crashes, or whatever happens in your narrative, and you die. You don't survive. But the second half of the round is where it really shines, in that you decide how that sounds and what that looks like. Because the second part of every round is writing down your journal. I used my recorder and recorded my journal as if I was the sole survivor of the Wretched, and I would narrate the actions that happened during the day based on the cards that were drawn, and I interpreted the actions that were taken and put them to, gave them life. And that, I think, is where sort of the fun in this game is. And it was something that I really enjoyed. And I'm not necessarily a particularly good voice actor, but I had a lot of fun putting this together. And so here it is. Rather than, I was going to do a bunch of gameplay. Rather than doing gameplay and kind of potentially spoiling some aspects of the game, and that's all you need to know. You roll a die, you flip cards, you pull Jenga towers, pull blocks from a Jenga tower. I'm just going to play the audio from my logs pieced together, and then I've taken the soundtrack from the game that comes with the PDF as well, put it in the background. I'm going to link to how you can get this game yourself. So here it is. This is the story of Conrad Balmer, the last survivor of the salvage ship the Wretched. Day 1. Salvage ship the Wretched. Flight engineer Conrad Balmer reporting. The other members of the crew are dead, and the engines remain non-operational. Though ship integrity remains good, and life support systems are still active, so that is a plus. I successfully jettisoned the intruder from the airlock, but it remains alive and continues to try to access the ship. With a little luck, I can repair the distress beacon and somebody will pick me up. This is Conrad Balmer, the last survivor of the Wretched, signing off. Day 2, salvage ship the Wretched, flight engineer Conrad Balmer reporting. Seeing as I'm the luckiest man alive, or in this case the only man alive, I thought I'd be able to make use of the lander shuttle in case I felt like making a break for it or needed to trade one inky black scenery for another. It seemed like a good idea, and Captain didn't have his regular batch of sundries for me to complete on account of him being dead and all. The twistedest thing, though, when I went to open the door to the bridge, it just wouldn't budge. Must have taken me 4 hours to pry it open. The bridge is just fine, but it ain't the mess hall, and it certainly ain't the dock, where we keep the landing shuttle. Not that that bit mattered anyway. Asteroid must have hit it before things went really south. All I could do was launch it, and hope it would chase after it. No dice. I saw it earlier. Oh, I might not have mentioned that bit. When I blasted the bug out of the airlock, the door stuck, which in layman's terms means I can see it, and it can see me when we time it just right. Just a door and a thick window between us. Both of us just wanting the other dead. It's like a bad romantic comedy with a little less popcorn and a lot more corpses. Anyway, I'm glad it was there tonight. It means it's not inside again. I hear it skittering around the outside of the hole. Sometimes I hear it skittering around inside. At least that's what it sounds like. Of course, if that were true, I'd probably have ended this log yesterday and never had time to press record today. This is Conrad Balmer, last survivor of the Wretched, signing off. Day 3, salvage ship the Wretched, flight engineer Conrad Ballmer reporting. Repair day. It's like I've got my old job back, but this time with 100% less help and 100% more monsters. I noticed last night that my breathing was a little off. Sure enough, oxygen levels were dropping, which is weird, because I could have sworn that I fixed those, if there were anyone left on the ship to swear to. Strangest thing, the oxygen systems were leaking, but the main problem was they were turned off, which can only be done from the bridge. I hope old Wretched is starting to go a bit senile, which would confirm why that giant blip keeps showing up on the scanners and then disappearing. Patched up the oxygen leak and a few lights that went out. Terrifyingly mundane stuff that's electrified by periodic skittering on the hull. Speaking of which, the thing has been attacking the glass on the bridge. It's not getting through anytime soon, but it's not getting through. I'm patching up the cracks and reinforcing the whole bridge as best I can, but who knows. While doing that, the radar blip went off again. Maybe the system's acting up, or maybe this is my ticket out of here. Of course, even with it showing up on the radar, I needed to boost the signal from the antenna, which meant going out for a little walk. It didn't take long, only seconds to manually boost the signal, but that meant being on that thing's turf. I put what's left of Franklin in a suit and dangled him out the other side of the ship. He looked like some sort of stupid marionette out there. I was just hoping it would cause a big enough diversion to give me enough time to do the work. It did. There wasn't anything to bring back in afterward, though. Conrad Balmer, last survivor of the Wretched, signing off. Day 4, salvage ship the Wretched, flight engineer Conrad Balmer reporting. Look, I know my title has engineer in it, but I'd like to be very clear. Should I make it back and someone ever does take a peek at the engine, I never claimed nor was hired to touch the engine. That being said, I gave it my best shot today. I took the entire thing apart and pieced it back together. The real head scratcher is that I have exactly 74 pieces left over. So if I survive this, I am not being held liable for that. It was broken when I touched it. Conrad Balmer, last survivor of the Wretched, signing off. Day 5, salvage ship the Wretched, flight engineer Conrad Balmer reporting. Dessert first. The beacon is fixed. As of this morning, I am finally broadcasting a distress signal out to the universe. I'll keep it running as long as it takes, and even if that blip isn't anything more than a malfunction, something's being sent out. That was the bright spot on an otherwise pretty dismal day. I don't spend much time in the mess hall. After things went south, I grabbed as much food as I could carry and brought it to the bridge. That's where most everyone was when the intruder so rudely interrupted things. And that's where most of them died. The smell was getting pretty bad, even on the other end of the ship, so I figured today was as good a day as any to do something about it. One by one, I carried every one of my former coworkers, friends, to the cold storage. That contemptible hole, no good for anything but dead bodies and cowards. I would know. I've carried the bodies there, and I've hidden there myself when this all happened. As soon as the first drop of blood spilled, I ran there. It wasn't anything but luck that I happened to peek out the window at the right time and see the bug wander into the airlock next to the storage door. Anyway, Carmen was holding a rifle. It didn't feel right taking it out of her hands like that, but she didn't need it anymore. It didn't do her any good anyway. Doubt it'll do more than let me sleep a little better. I hope I'm losing my mind, because it's not just the sounds anymore. I would have promised on every one of their graves that something was moving in the mess hall. But after cleaning out the bodies, there wasn't anything. Conrad Balmer, last survivor of the Wretched, signing off. Day 6, salvage ship the Wretched. Flight engineer Conrad Ballmer reporting. Conrad Balmer. I wonder if that thing has a name. If it's as mindless as it looks, or if it talks to itself the same way I am every single day for a reason that currently and perhaps always will elude me. Is it an alpha predator that's in a fight for survival as I am, or is it just taking care of a pest problem? I think it's a Steve. Kind of looks like a Steve to me. I figured out my best options if Steve ever manages to get in again. First is the bridge. I could hide there, lots of space with a narrow entrance. The door's solid. I learned that after getting stuck in there. Second would be cold storage. It worked in the past, it might work again. Third could be the cargo hold. Fourth, the greenhouse. Doesn't seem to mind the cold of space, and maybe it won't like that. I don't know. Fifth isn't so much a hiding space as it is an option. Stand out in the open. Maybe it's like a mountain lion, and the more noise you make, the less you run, the better chance you stand. Maybe not. Conrad Balmer, last survivor of the Wretched, signing off. Day 7, salvage ship the Wretched. Flight engineer Conrad Balmer reporting. Oh, the sensor must have fixed itself. No more blips showing up, just an empty screen and the signal I'm sending out into the nothing. I think this helps. Hearing the log lets me feel at least a little bit like I'm not alone. Mine might be the only voice I ever hear again. If that is the case, well, it's just too bad. I will say, I'm sorry to have named that thing. I dreamed about it last night. Old Steve managed to get in by knocking on the door, and I just let it in. Over coffee, he explained why it really would be most convenient for both of us if I just let him get the job over with quickly. I hate how much sense he was making. Thankfully, I woke up before he could give his final arguments. Unfortunately, it was the real Steve waking me up. He managed to yank off one of the other habitat modules. Nearly got in, and would have too if the alarm hadn't gone off. I managed to seal it off, but that was a closer call than I would have liked. Even if he did just want to have a chat over coffee. Conrad Balmer, last survivor of the Wretched, signing off. Day 8, salvage ship the Wretched. Flight Engineer Conrad Balmer reporting. Today was supposed to be my day off. Jacqueline's too. We were supposed to have a coffee date. It had been a long time coming, but we were thinking of actually having a go at it. That's lonely in space, and she was the best friend I had up here, and maybe it could have been more. Her journal was in the mess hall. I couldn't help but read an entry before deciding that was an invasion of privacy and memory that I wasn't prepared to encroach on until at least a couple more days had passed. But she missed fireworks from home. The 4th of July was her favorite holiday, and it was because of the lights in the sky. I brought her, just her, to the airlock. I was going to give her a proper burial, at least the most proper I could muster. I couldn't do it. I couldn't jettison her out into the black. I tried to say a few words, but nothing came out, so I did what I hoped she would have appreciated, and fired a flare out into space. Her own personal fireworks show. The oddest thing happened, though. When I lit the flare, Steve stopped moving around. As far as I can tell, he was, I guess, distracted by it. I don't want to waste them all in one go, but I think I might have found a way to buy some time. And the way it moves across the hall, it must be... Hold on. Hold on.